Good afternoon. It is my honor to kick this new year off right by calling to order our January 2nd Board of Supervisors meeting. We're focused on our organizational meeting and then our public hearing this evening. So with that, we'll start each meeting like we do with a invocation. And this year's invocation kicking off will be Pastor David Clark from Calvary Chapel, and Vice Chair Waters will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise as you're in.
Thank you so much. I invite you all to pray with me. Father God, thank you so much for this past year. Lord, forgive us when we're remiss of remembering the blessings that you've bestowed upon us. And Father, as we look at the beginning of this year, Father, I'm just so encouraged, just listening to some of the leaders talk about the things that they're excited about. Father, looking at the new faces on this board. Father, I just pray that you give them wisdom and you give them discernment. Help them to understand that the decisions they make are not done in a box and in the dark. Instead, the decisions that they make affect countless folks here in this county. So, Father, I just pray that you give them the wisdom that they need. Father, I pray that it be a blessed year for us. And Father, I pray for protection upon the families that are here. And I pray that you keep us safe during the storms that may be coming. I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please be seated. All right, our first order of business will be the electing of the new chair and vice chair, and for that, I will turn the gavel over to our county administrator, Mr. Carpenter.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, part of my duties as the county administrator is also to serve as the clerk to this board. That means that once a year I get to run the meeting to nominate and elect a chairman and vice chairman. I'll also, tonight, you may notice that our county attorney is not here. She's had a family situation arise, so I'll also be doing some things that she would do as well. And so that, I'll open the meeting. I will now open the floor for the purpose of accepting nominations for the office of chairman of the Board of Supervisors. Do I have a motion?
Mr. County Administrator, I would like to move that we elect Charlie Waters as our chairman for year 2024.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the office? Seeing none, I'll close the floor. I will now call the roll. Mr. Lyles?
Aye.
Ms. Spoonhauer?
Aye.
Mr. Winfrey?
Aye.
Mr. Christie?
Aye.
And Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I guess we can do it for a minute.
Someone's anxious. All right. I will now open the floor for the purpose of accepting nominations for the office of Vice Chairman of the Board of Supervisors. Do I have a motion?
Mr. County Administrator, I would like to move that we appoint Mr. Tom Winfrey as Vice Chair of the Board of Supervisors.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other nominations for the office? Seeing none, I'll close the floor. We have Mr. Winfrey nominated for the office of Vice Chairman. I will now call the roll. Mr. Christie?
Aye.
Ms. Spoonhauer?
Aye.
Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Lyles?
Aye.
Mr. Winfrey?
Aye.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we can change seats.
Tom, I was getting used to you.
Thank you. We now have some resolutions. We'll now move on to resolution adopting the 2024 Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct for members of the Board of Supervisors. Every year at its annual organizational meeting, the Board of Supervisors adopts a code of ethics and standards of conduct by which the board discharges its duties and responsibilities on behalf of the county. The board is requested to consider and adopt the proposed 2024 Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct that were provided to them. Do I have a motion?
Sir, I move that the board approve the resolution adopting the 2024 Board of Supervisors Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussions? Seeing none, Mr. Lyles?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Mr. Spoonhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Christie?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll now discuss a resolution adopting the 2024 Code of Ethics and Conduct for persons appointed to represent Goochland County. The Board of Supervisors believes that persons representing Goochland County in any capacity should engage in a high level of ethical and moral conduct. In order to ensure that goal is attained, the Board first adopted a Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct for county appointees in 2021 and now adopts it annually. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Spoonhour?
Yes.
Ms. Christie?
Yes.
Mr. Lyle?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Yes.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Moving on, the board is now requested to approve a resolution adopting its 2024 Board of Supervisors Rules of Procedures by which the board conducts meetings, public hearings, and otherwise discharges its duties and responsibilities on behalf of the county. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Winfrey?
Aye.
Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Ms. Spoonhour?
Aye.
Mr. Christie?
Aye.
Mr. Lyle?
Yes.
And finally, in accordance with requirements of Virginia Code 15.2-1416, the Board of Supervisors is required to establish the dates, times, and places of its regular meetings for the year. The proposed schedule is in the packet. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Very good. I will now close the meeting and return the gavel to the chair for his comments. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chairman.
I just have a couple comments before we move forward. I'm humbled and grateful for the trust put into me by Goochland voters in November and by my fellow supervisors in being asked to serve as board chair for the 2024 year. Thriving, well-run, and a great place to live are words and phrases that first come to mind when I think about how best to describe the Goochland County. I'm confident this will be the case for decades and generations to come, and this board and our outstanding county staff and leadership will work tirelessly to make that occur. Please reach out to your supervisor with any ideas or concerns, and know that you have a team on this dais committing to serving all the residents in Goochland County. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the county administrator comments. Mr. Carpenter?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, just a few items. One this morning, we realized winter is here as icy roads and bridges have resulted in at least 5 wrecks on 288 and 64. We know coming up this weekend as well, we have potential for more icy weather, so please be careful. County crews are out there and they have your back. We also have 2 events coming up this month. One, the Martin Luther King celebration on January 15th. That is a federal holiday and offices will be closed. And January 20th, the planning and goal setting retreat for the board at the Residence Inn at the Notch. And that's my report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Moving on, we have in our packet the minutes from the meetings of December 5th and 12th. I will entertain a motion for those approval. I'm sorry. Moving on, please forgive me and my procedural errors for this first meeting. Moving on, are there any requests to postpone agenda items and or any deletions, additions, or changes in the order of presentation? Nope. Okay. No. And now we move on to the next item, citizen comments. Any citizen is given 3 minutes to come to the podium and address the board. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you do not wish to speak and cede your time to another citizen, please, you can do that in 2-minute increments up to 10 minutes in total. Please, if we have a number of people coming, please sit on the front row, and that'll expedite our process. Thank you.
Linda Moore, Mannequin Sabbath, Virginia. Welcome to the new year, 2024. I am telling you that we are delighted for all you all to be here to decide to take on the 4-year hitch. As my military family would say, it was a 4-year hitch, and we were hitched to the hitched to our father in many ways. I also would like to thank you all for the standards that you approved for the meeting, especially about the meeting. I love the 2 that you added. I think that will help an awful lot with helping to frame the intent of the process. That being said, we are moving on with my community is decided that we really need to educate our citizens on proper ways to address land use cases that uses the decorum, as you have said, to understand what the regulations are. I don't think anybody understands Dillon's rule, and they don't understand that we have to do exactly what the General Assembly tells us to do. Okay, we are in Virginia, so our codes have got to match the codes for the Commonwealth, and I don't think anybody realizes that, but we will get there. We expect in April to have a workshop. We're working just to make sure that our materials are accurate, and thank you very much. Have a beautiful meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Moore.
Margaret Levitt, Parkside Village, Goochland. First of all, Happy New Year, and I look forward to working with you in the future as a new board. I had emailed some comments to each one of you regarding the annual organizational meeting, number 4, the rules of procedure, and I was hoping that I would have time to have some input on that. I didn't know that you all didn't take citizen input, so I know it's already adopted. But it is my hope to have a better working relationship than we've had in the past. And hope is more than just an emotion or feeling, it's an action. And I think each one of you who have been here previously understand that my husband and I have been involved. And we don't always want to be at odds. We want to work together, so that is my hope. And I hope that's yours as well. But this is more than just a housekeeping issue, in my opinion, because if an applicant can come in during the hearing and present a change, the citizens are left out of that. So I feel that's more than just a housekeeping issue. So what I had asked is that perhaps you could have some citizen input to tweak that and make it stronger to include citizen input. And maybe we can still do that. I don't know. But I would like to see that. So along these same lines, I'll bring up something that's kind of not going to be a positive. I guess it is now that it's off the table, but Project Rocky. And as it related to the staff report, several agencies that said that they either had no comment or no comment at this time that were critical in terms of emergency services and the sheriff's office. They said they don't even see that staff report before it's finalized. What if there was an error? What if they did have comment? Because I heard, well, we were at those meetings. I can't imagine the biggest thing to go before Goochland, and there was no comment. So I think these agencies should have the opportunity to look at the staff report and do a final sign-off before it's distributed. And that's what I have to say tonight. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mrs. Levitt. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will close the citizen comment period. Moving on, we have in our packet the minutes of the December 5th regular Board of Supervisors meeting and the December 12th Transportation Work Session meeting. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes from the regular meeting on the 5th and the transportation work session on the 12th as presented.
Second?
This is a voice vote. All those in favor? Oh, time
Just
for
wanna-
discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just want to let the new board members know that you don't necessarily have to be here to accept the minutes. You're just accepting that the work that the clerk has done, so there's not really a need to abstain. Just want to throw that out there.
Thank you.
Any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion from the board. All in favor with the voice vote. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain? The motion passes. Next, we will hear the VDOT and broadband reports. All other reports are included in the board packet if you have any questions. So stepping forward for VDOT, Mr. Nguyen.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Marshall Nguyen with VDOT. This past month, we had 117 work orders, completed 120, had 6 call-outs. I've been doing regular maintenance activities, asphalt patching, pothole patching, shoulder repair, pipe replacement and cleaning, ditching, tree removal and cleanup, and trash pickup. As you heard earlier, we did have a little blip this morning. I hope we don't have one this weekend, but we'll be ready. This was a surprise this morning with the rain we had yesterday evening. And other than that, I really don't have anything else. If y'all have any questions for me, please let me know. Or do you want me to go over something with the new board members, what the areas are? Would you like that? All right. The county split up into 2 areas of responsibility. The Oilville area takes care of the roads between 522 and Henrico County line. The Sandy Hook area takes care of 522 to the west, to the county line. So that's the 2 area headquarters we got. Both area headquarters have like 11 or 12 people that work in that area. So just want to let y'all know that for your information. Now, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen.
Have a good evening.
Now to present Mr. Paul Drumright for the broadband report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Paul Drumright, Community Affairs Manager. As you mentioned, the broadband report is in the board's packet. I'm going to just touch on a couple high-level items that are in there, as well as that have changed since that packet was published. We've had a couple updates come in, shared with me, so I'm happy to share that with the board. So the first off, the project continues, the Firefly Rise project continues to be on track in expanding broadband across the county. They're going to be continuing to do connections into 2024 and up through 2025 as well as part of the project. That's when all those grant areas have to be completed by the end of 2025 is that deadline. We expect it to happen shorter than that, but that's that final deadline right now where all those projects have to happen. Good news is the area up in the Haydensville, Fife area has been completely done by the Dominion crew. So that area has now been built. That middle mile is done, complete, 28 miles of fiber up there. And so now they're going to be focusing on the Columbia area, so the kind of the south side of District 1, working on that into the first quarter of 2024, and then they will be finishing up with the Crozier area as well. One other thing the county did share over on our social media account, shared a post that Firefly did back in December. Over 2 weeks, they extended a fiber connecting Powhatan in Goochland, which is part of the Firefly, going to be part of Firefly network, extended it underneath the 522 bridge that connects Goochland and Powhatan. And so it was a kind of a post showing the crews at work. Over 2 weeks, they worked at night, going underneath the bridge to extend pipe and run the conduit and fiber underneath there to literally bridge the divide between Goochland and Powhatan, and to be part of that middle mile network that will then eventually get to that last mile component. So that's the primary update we have right now. I'm happy to take any questions and happy to come back with more information. We'll be back next month, and I think we'll be talking more about the grant that we authorized, or that the board authorized us to participate in with Firefly. We'll be talking more about that next month.
Board, any questions or comments for Mr. Drumright?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Lau?
Yes, Mr. Drumright, in there, and this is on the Port 80.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that they passed 372 homes, but only 128 signed up. Is there any reason that with the crying need for broadband, that sort of surprised me?
A couple different reasons. Just it ranges from, from what we've heard of just folks either not interested or they've already gone with another provider, say Starlink. So there's just a number of different reasons for that. But we have, for that, we don't have all the connections we were hoping to have, but the state does not ding us for that. So it's what they value it as is passings. So it's available if somebody wants it. And it's still available for individuals there. They just, will now have to call and sign to get hooked up. Those crews have really left the area, and we're wrapping up that project. But so that doesn't mean that in the future somebody couldn't sign up for that service. It just, at the where we are now, we've not had any additional folks really sign up for that. And that was a much smaller area. The Firefly area obviously is a very, very large area compared. So the two projects really are apples to oranges.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Drumright.
Thank you.
Now we move on to board reports. Are there any comments from the board on regional meetings or committees on which we sit?
CBTA hasn't met since we last met. No update.
Okay, that's it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just continuing my interest in agricultural, I will mention in passing that the Monacan District, which I just left, will have its organizational meeting on the 22nd. The nominating report from that committee is that John Kokensparger from Powhatan and Sebastian Volker from Goochland will be chair and vice chair. There's still an at-large director position open. The application can be found on the Monacan website, and that would be appointed by the State Soil and Water Conservation District. I will also mention that the Virginia Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts have their legislative day on the 11th. I know we were not able to meet with our legislative contingent or representatives prior to the General Assembly going into session. I don't know if the county administrator is able to see what the association, the Soil Association, is going to promote down there, one of which is the, well, actually, that's the Farm Bureau. which I'll then mention, they're going to have their legislative day on the 28th and the 29th. Solar collection facilities are being rumored, and there may be legislation already filed that would remove counties from participating in the location of those facilities in the future. So to protect our interests, I strongly believe local government should have a seat at the table when it comes to those kind of decisions. I'll also just mention in passing that the Capital Region Land Conservancy executed yet another land conservation. It was in Powhatan. The executive director for the CRLC said that they have executed conservation easements in every locality that they participate with except Goochland. So I am taking that as a personal challenge that we would find an opportunity to put land in conservation easement here in the county, if at all possible. And the last thing I'll mention is several people have commented that Farm Bureau is no longer going to write insurance in Goochland or in Virginia, and that is a misunderstanding. Not to get into too much detail, but Farm Bureau has multiple carriers underneath its umbrella. One of those carriers is not going to carry insurance in the Commonwealth, but Farm Bureau insurance is still available. And if you call the local Goochland Farm Bureau office, they'll be happy to help you get the right kind of coverage that you might need for your farm or even residential or home. And that's information I can share, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Any other comments, board reports? Thank you. We now move on to the consent agenda. These are items of a routine nature that have been reviewed and discussed with the staff. Mr. Carpenter will now give a review of the items for our consideration.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have 4 items in front of you tonight. The first item, Resolution 5919, construction of roads within Tuckahoe Bridge Section 1 subdivision is complete. VDOT has notified the county that certain streets are ready to be accepted into the state secondary road system for maintenance upon the board's adoption of the following resolution. The roads requested to be accepted are 0.36 miles of Tuckahoe Bridge Drive, Route 1235, in 2 different sections, 0.11 miles of Ellis Farm Drive, Route 1236, in 2 different sections, and 0.19 miles of Ellis Farm Way, Route 1237, in 2 sections. The next resolution, 5869, the school board is requesting the following budget supplements totaling $543,767 as described below. $442,298 to the school operating fund due to state budget amendments to support tutoring, VA Literacy Act implementation, attendance improvements, 2% salary increase, and reduction of support staff cap and ESSER grant-related costs. No local match is required. And then $101,469 to the school federal fund due to additional funds received for Title 1A and Title 1D. Again, no local match is required. The third item, Resolution 5922. At its December 5th meeting, the Board of Supervisors deferred the public hearing on the Access Management Ordinance to February 2024 to give staff more time to respond to concerns of the development community. After reviewing the board meeting schedule, county administration has realized the only public hearing scheduled for the Board of Supervisors' February regular meeting was the Access Management Ordinance, and that it appears the board would have only one public hearing on its agenda for the March regular meeting. In order to more efficiently manage the board's meeting schedule and staff time, I recommend the board defer this public hearing to the board's March regular meeting when it is anticipated there's already another public hearing that will be held. Then finally, Resolution 5860, a request for proposals was issued on June 22nd to contract a firm for professional architectural and engineering services to design the West Creek Fire and Rescue Station. The county received 9 proposals, which were evaluated and ranked by an evaluation committee with oversight by the purchasing director. A short list of firms was determined. Interviews were conducted in August. After interviews, the committee selected one firm to best meet the needs of the county and then conducted negotiations. As a result, action item meeting of January 2nd, 2024, page 2, the committee is recommending the contract award to HBA Architecture and Interior Design in the amount of $752,350. Funding for this project was approved in this year's capital improvement budget, and therefore no appropriation funds is required for this contract to be accepted. The Contract is attached and has been approved as to form by the county attorney. Mr. Chairman, those are your consent items tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any discussion amongst the board members?
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the consent agenda as presented.
A second?
This is a voice vote.
Mr.
All-
Mr. Chairman, I did have one question on the
Yes.
Tuckahoe Bridge. Mr. County Administrator, we're okay with the sidewalks on that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just making sure.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Our next item is the appointments to our regional boards. The following appointments are proposed. To the CVTA, Central Virginia Transit Authority, Seat 1, Supervisor Neil Spoonhauer. Seat 2, Supervisor Tom Winfrey. To the Plan RVA Committee, Seat 1 and 2 to Mr. Spoonhauer. The alternate, Jonathan Lyle. To the RRTPO Policy Board, Seats 1 and 2, Supervisor Lyle. Alternate 1 and 2, Supervisor Vaughters. And to the Clio Capital Region Workforce, Supervisor Christie, and the alternate, staff appointee. To the Board of Audit and Finance, to the Board's Audit and Finance Committee, Supervisors Vaughters, Winfrey, and Christie. I will entertain a motion to approve as a group.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the appointments as presented.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. I will now entertain a motion to consider the reappointment of Ms. Betsy Wright to the Recreation Advisory Board.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Lau. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. With that, we will adjourn to a approximately 30-minute recess to our meeting at 6 p.m. Thank you very much.
start doing karaoke. You going first?
It's 6 o'clock. With that, I'll call the meeting back to order and start the meeting with the citizen comment period. Any citizen wishing to speak, please come to the podium at the front, and you have 3 minutes. If anyone would like to cede up to 2 minutes of their time to another citizen, please let us know to whom that is, and maximum of 10 minutes. When you come up to the podium, please give your name and address for the record. Thank you very much. Oh, these are all for items not already on the agenda. Thank you. Any citizen comments? Seeing none, I will close the citizen comment period and move forward to the public hearing. We have one item on the public hearing agenda. I will call up Jamie Sherry on behalf of the staff.
Thank you, Chairman Vaughters, members of the board. Good evening and Happy New Year. We do have one public hearing before you this evening, and this is an application for a conditional use permit for an accessory family housing unit, which is detached. This application is by Marvin and Tamberlyn Howell. The property is located in the southeastern portion of the county, as you can see with the red circle on the map. More specifically, the property is located on Art Road, as you can see in the aerial. Art Road, and then you have Hermitage Road, and for better context, you have Sneed Road right there. The subject property is in red. The property is zoned agricultural general, which is the agricultural zoning for this area. And we also have the designation from the comprehensive plan in the second map, and it is single-family residential low density, which is a residential recommendation. So on the map, there's a lot going on, so I'm going to kind of describe it in color. I provided the color for clarity. The underlying map is the applicant's map. So the application is for a property that has currently 2 existing dwellings. The red is the house that will remain on the property. It was built in 1973. It's approximately 1,400 square feet. The second house that's already existing on the property is in green. That one is proposed to be removed. It's an older home built in 1930 and is currently uninhabitable. The applicant is proposing to remove the house that's circled in the green and place the new house approximately where the blue circle is. The applicant will have to meet all the zoning requirements, so that is an approximate location. This is required by the zoning ordinance. If this was an attached accessory housing unit for in-law suite or whatever, if it was attached, it would be allowed by right. They would just have to register it with the county. So the comprehensive plan I mentioned is single-family residential low is the designation, which is a residential designation. With the conditions that are imposed through the CUP, it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. There was a community meeting back in October. There were 2 members of the community in attendance, both expressed support. And back in December, there was a public hearing held on, by the Planning Commission, and they recommended 5-0 approval for this application, and nobody spoke at the public hearing. So I'm going to run through the uses that staff recommends. Of course, this is up to the board to either change any of these or accept them as recommended. The use of the property for the subject property is they're allowed to have a detached family accessory use on the property. There are limitations on the use. Only family of the principal dwelling may reside in the accessory family housing unit. They are not allowed to rent both the house and the accessory dwelling unit separately. They must either be rented as a whole and maintained as family or rented by the held by the applicant. The site plan, which I showed you, the one that I marked up, it generally has to conform to that. As I said in the presentation, it would have to meet all the zoning requirements. Demolition, so this is a condition that was added that's not one of our normal standard conditions. This is here just to ensure that the proper disposal and proper permits are received when getting when demolishing the 1930s house. Number 6, carbon monoxide and smoke detectors must be installed and maintained. Emergency access to allow that both houses are accessed by fire rescue. Both houses will be using the same driveway onto Art Road. They will not be accessing Hermitage, so it'll be using an existing driveway. And fire rescue has already reviewed this application. The expiration date is a 5-year expiration date, so they would be eligible to renew in January 2029. And the last one is our transfer of ownership. So what this means is that if they were to sell the property or if they were to lease the property to somebody else, they would have to both notify the county that the change has occurred, but also notify the new owner or leasee that these conditions apply to the conditional use permit. Because as I mentioned to you all before, a conditional use permit, the use does run with the land. So it's not attached to the owner, but the property itself. So that is my very quick presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. The Howells are both in attendance, and they'd be able to answer questions as well.
Any questions to the staff report? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sherry. Now that we've had the staff report, we will open up the public hearing. Upon closing the public hearing, the application and staff may address any questions or concerns noted in the public hearing. As with citizen comment period, same conditions apply. Please state your name and address when you come to the podium. Any public comments? Public hearing is open. Seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing. Would the applicant or staff like to address the board? Mr. Howell? Thank you.
Hi, how you doing?
Well,
All right, my name is Marvin Howell. This is my wife, Tamara. We at 763 Oak Spring Lane, Manning. I'm just glad to be home. I want to live beside my father and my sister. And as I see, as time going on and people are moving out, and I'm one of the last Mohicans of the neighborhood, you know, and I love to be in that neighborhood, and hope y'all will grant me that.
Same.
wonderful. Thank you all for coming. Can I entertain a motion to the application?
I so move to accept it.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Christie. We will move on to a voice vote. Any discussion from the board? Mr. Spoonhour?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Sherry, in your presentation, I got a little confused at you're right there, actually, the last, the notification. As you were talking, you said notification of a leasee. The whole purpose of this is for it to be a family dwelling.
So that's correct. And so they can lease the entire property, but it would have to still be part of these conditions. So technically, they could lease it to a family and not have anybody live in that house, or they could lease it to a family and they could have a family member live in that house if they wanted to activate the conditional use permit. They couldn't rent that house.
What's the difference between a lease and a rent?
Nothing. There's no difference. So do you want to go ahead, Mr.?
Mike?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, the applicant can lease the entire property to someone, but they can't lease a separate property. So they can't have two houses individually leased. But they can rent it out right now, both properties. Is that correct?
And
One person.
and abide by the same conditions,
Right.
correct.
So they could have a single tenant renting both houses from them.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote. Mr. Carpenter?
Mr. Christie?
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour?
Yes.
Mr. Lyle?
Yes.
Mr. Winfrey?
Aye.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Congratulations.
With that, we complete our agenda and we adjourn. The Board of Supervisors will adjourn as follows, to a February 6, 2024 Audit and Finance Committee meeting in room 270, time to be determined. The meeting is open to the public, and to a February 6, 2024 Board of Supervisors afternoon regular meeting, time to be determined and posted at least a week in advance, and 6 p.m. public hearing. That meeting is also open to the public. With that, I adjourn.